So I'm going to start making the pesto. I already have my pasta water going and I've already added my pasta, so while that cooks, that's as long as it's going to take me to make this pesto. First thing you want to do is in your mortar you want to get your garlic mashed first. So I'm going to use probably just that little guy. I don't want too much garlic. I'm not a big fan of too much garlic. So you're going to put your garlic in there. I'm actually going to put it in a couple small pieces just so it's a little easier in there. So that's the first thing that goes in. And you want to start smashing this first. So this is the first thing. It's probably the, in terms of texture, the hardest thing that you're going to be grinding. So that's why you put it in first, because it's going to receive more mashing than anything else. So you just rub around. And with this mortar, the white marble, the important thing is to make sure, I don't know if you guys can see this, but this here, the inside is really coarse, which is nice. It's not a polished marble inside, so it's giving me some rough texture to sort of get my garlic and everything else I'm going to put in there. It's going to give me some nice friction between the two. So I'm just mashing that up. A lot of it's still on my pestle, which is fine. And the next thing you're going to do is you're going to start putting in your basil. So I'm just going to get a couple mashed in there before I add the next one. So all my basil's going in there. And this is going to take a little bit of time, but the really cool thing is you get this really amazing fragrance of the basil right in your face. So you just want to kind of roll it around the sides. So this too is why you want a really heavy marble, because you can see it's really kind of a lot of arm work and you don't want your mortar going everywhere. So now when you start to see the basil start to release its juices, I'm going to add a little bit of salt right now to help with that kind of shredding process. Put that in there, because that coarseness of the salt is going to help your basil shred. So you're going to keep going around, and now that my juices are really kind of coming out, I'm going to start to put in some of these pine nuts. Probably best if you don't drop them all over the floor. So if you want to, there are a lot of variations of pesto. Instead of basil, if you want to add a little bit of arugula to this, you can make an arugula pesto. And then same for the pine nuts. If you don't have pine nuts or they're not available to you, you could use cashews or walnuts. There's a lot of variations, but this one here is really the classic sort of traditional recipe that they use in Italy. All right. So I'm going to add in some of my cheeses now too. I put in some Parmigiano Reggiano and a little bit of Pecorino Romano. And when you do this with the pesto, you really sort of want to roll it around the edges. So I'm going to check my pasta water here. I put my pasta in. I think it's getting to be almost ready. So we have maybe about only 2 minutes left on there. So I already went ahead and added some olive oil to get it some nice consistency, but I'm going to show you here. You can see it's still a little too thick. It's not sort of running off as much as I'd like. So go ahead and continue to add olive oil slowly to this. So you're going to go around and just, you don't want it too runny, and you don't want a ton of olive oil resting on the top of it. You can see it's starting to drip off a lot easier. So we're almost there. I'm going to drain the pasta, and I'm actually going to show you, I made one a little earlier that I purposely made too runny because I want to show you guys what too runny actually means. There's some over here. So you can see here, first off, the olive oil on top is not so bad, but you'll see when I start to get into it that it's a little too runny. It's coming off the spoon a little too fast. So this here is really more the consistency that you want. You want it coming off the pestle or the spoon, but not so fast. So this here, in my opinion, is pretty much ready to go. Just need some hot pasta. So I'm going to take this over, drain it. Now, again, the first time this pesto is going to have anything come in contact with it is the hot pasta. So as soon as that happens, all the aromas are going to come out, and you really want to eat it pretty quickly. And I have a nice pasta bowl in the oven, get nice and warm. since I can't heat up my pesto sauce. And just lightly drain your pasta. You don't want to drain it too much. So this is going to go right in my bowl. Take some of my fresh pesto, put it right on top of the pasta. Just do a little bit at a time. My pasta fork. You could really start to smell the pine nuts and the basil. And okay, so I'm done mixing my pasta. Because I didn't let my pasta drain too much, I let a lot of the liquid still around the pasta. I didn't have to add any extra pasta water, but when you drain your pasta, keep a small 2 cupfuls of the pasta water, because sometimes the consistency of the pesto in the pasta can get a little bit chunky on you. So we're just going to serve this up. And that's really it. That's linguine with fresh basil pesto.